Hey there, you and your partner just had a fight. So, does your ego or your heart determine what happens next? I'm Leslie Dories, your marriage coach and the creator of the Hero Husband Project and founder of Foundations Coaching. And this is what I'm going to be talking about today of what do you do after somehow the two of you have had an argument or some kind of disrepair. Now, if you already know that getting reconnected to your partner is a problem, then I can help and just go ahead and send me a message or shoot me an email and we can talk about it. But for those of you who aren't quite sure what's going on, this is for you. And what I'm talking about is all relationships are made up of a time of being connected, a time of being disconnected, and then there is the repair, how the two of you come back together again. And this is where our ego comes in because we can take the stand, you could take the stand that, well, my partner decided, my partner is at fault. And so my partner has to come to me and make it up. And this is a problem, right? Because if your partner is always the one who has to come back to you to make amends, to make repairs, they're going to get resentful about this. And this is a question of which is more important to you, your ego or your marriage. Now, I'm not talking about you or your marriage. I'm talking about your ego, the part of you that's hurt and justified and all puffed up, right? The part of you, the part of you that can never acknowledge that you played a role in what happened. And it's really easy to get there because your hurt is legitimate. Maybe your wife said something to you that wasn't fair, or you know, maybe you know maybe they were just incorrect about something. But be really careful about that, right? But this is what happens. This is what prevents couples from working through it, right? Because I'm hurt, I'm justified, I don't want to apologize because I didn't do anything wrong. And now you're at odds with each other. Sound familiar? Well, if it does, first off, you're not alone. It's really, really hard to get our ego in check, right? Going back and reconnecting with your partner, saying the three hardest words in the English language, which are actually, I am sorry, really sticks in some people's throats because I wasn't wrong. Okay, but what if you moved from the right and wrong to connected or disconnected? Because the more time that there is between the disconnect, the argument, the misunderstanding, the whatever it is that sent you guys in your own way, you know, um, this is what's going to keep you from reconnecting. So if you're one of these people who gives your partner the silent treatment or sits there and, goes, well, you know, yeah, maybe I did something wrong, but what she did was worse. It's like all you guys are going to do is just continue to have this difficulty. Um, and so this is a real problem. It really, really is. And it's one of those things that when you stop and you weigh the odds of, is this argument, is this misunderstanding, is this communication that we just had enough to blow apart the marriage? Because when you don't repair, when you don't go to your partner and say, and make a bid for connection, as John Gottman likes to say, then all you're doing is creating more time and more distance between the two of you. And I'm going to tell you, that doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel good to you. It doesn't feel good to her. And it does damage to your marriage. And the big culprit is your ego, because your heart is wanting to reconnect. And so you have to figure out, what do you need to do to get your ego under control? And by the way, that doesn't mean that whatever hurt you experienced isn't legitimate. Of course, it's legitimate and it needs to be dealt with. But you can't deal with it if you're disconnected. You can't deal with it if your ego is running the show when you do try to go back to your partner. Because if you're like most people, what you've discovered is that you just are refighting that same fight you just had. You're not moving forward. You're not using the language. You're not using the skills that are going to get you to be heard, have your feelings acknowledged, and then find a way back to each other. And the longer you stay disconnected, or the more often you allow the disconnection to happen, it's like termites eating away at the foundation of your marriage. You know, you might be okay, but you aren't going to be at your best. And learning how to calmly and address your own thoughts and feelings around this is a skill that you can learn, right? And it's a skill that if you want to have the best marriage possible, you need to learn it, right? Because you're telling yourself a story. Your partner is telling herself a story. You're making all this up, and the longer it takes for each of you to come back together and acknowledge your part in what happened, not taking responsibility for the whole thing, but your part in what happened, the sooner you'll be able to get it back together. And if you always wait or make your partner do the reconnection, they are going to get a little bit, they're going to get frustrated, they're going to get resentful, and they'll do it for a while, and then suddenly they're not going to do it anymore. So you don't want to get that pattern established. So if you want to know how to move past these disruptions in your relationship, which by the way are a given, even the best marriages in the world are going to have periods of disruption, then you need to learn how to do this, because you want to have the best marriage possible. I want you to have the best marriage possible. And the skills are simple, not always easy to implement, but they're not complicated. And it's really about letting your love and your commitment to your marriage win out over that nasty little ego that we all have. So if you want to learn more, I invite you to get in touch with me and have a chat. You can reach me by email at Lesli at foundationscoachingnc.com. That's Lesli at foundationscoachingnc.com. Or you can direct message me, or you can put a comment down in the link below, because I really want to know, how do you get past your disconnection with your wife? And so until next week, stay loving.